Hello, friends, and welcome to The Artificial Brain, the podcast that explores the frontiers of artificial intelligence, one fascinating idea at a time. I'm your host, Shining. From groundbreaking models to the big questions about our future, we're here to make sense of it all, clearly, honestly, and without the hype. Ready to expand your mind? Let's dive in. What is good, Brainiacs? Welcome back to another episode of The Artificial Brain, the podcast where we slice through the tech jargon like a hot knife through silicon butter. Today we are diving deep into the single biggest beef in the tech world right now. No, I am not talking about Apple versus Android. I am talking about the battle for the soul of artificial intelligence. It is the showdown between open source versus closed AI models. This is the main character energy event of the decade, and we are here for it. So picture this. On one side of the ring, you have the fancy, polished, heavily guarded fortresses like ChatGPT and Claude. These are the closed models. On the other side, you have the Wild West, the Rebel Alliance, the models like Llama and Mistral, where the code is free and the community runs the show. This fight is not just about code, it is about who owns the future of intelligence. Is it going to be the corporations or the people? It is giving civil war, but for robots.
And his name is John C.
Let's break it down, because I know some of you are already glazing over thinking about code and weights. Do not worry, I got you. When we talk about open source versus closed AI, we are really asking one simple question. Who gets to see under the hood? In a closed source model, the company keeps the keys. They built the castle, they dug the moat, and they are the only ones who know how the magic trick works. You just get to use the app. It is like driving a car where the hood is welded shut. If it breaks, you call the mechanic. You cannot look at the engine, you cannot tweak the turbo. You just trust that the manufacturer knows what they are doing. Open source, on the other hand, is like giving you the car, the manual, the spare parts, and a garage full of tools. You can pop the hood, you can see the engine, you can rip out the seats and turn it into a lowrider if you want. The underlying code and model weights are public. Anyone from a teenager in their basement to a massive corporation can look at it, study it, and change it. This transparency is the whole point. Let's talk about the big dogs first, the closed source giants. We are talking OpenAI with ChatGPT, Anthropic with Claude. These guys are fast, like really fast, and they are super convenient. You sign up, you pay a subscription, and boom, you have access to arguably the smartest entities on the planet. It feels like magic. It is sleek, it is polished. They have huge teams of engineers making sure you do not see the gears grinding. It is the iPhone experience. It just works, and that is low-key fire for productivity. But, and this is a big but, there is a catch. You have zero control. You do not own the data you put in, you do not know how the model decides what to say, and you are definitely at their mercy for pricing. If they decide to double the price tomorrow, you just have to take it or leave it. That is what we call vendor lock-in. It is like a toxic relationship but for your business data. Once you build your whole workflow around their model, breaking up is hard to do you. There is also the spooky factor. With closed models, you are trusting a corporation to be ethical. You are trusting them not to use your data to train the next version that puts you out of business. You are trusting that the safety filters they put in place align with your values. And let's be real, corporations and ethics have a history that is a bit questionable. When the model is a black box, you never know if there is some bias or a hidden instruction lurking in the code. It gives serious surveillance vibes. Now flip the script. Let's look at the open source uprising. Meta with Llama Mistral, these are the players saying, hey, let the people see the code. And this movement is gaining momentum like crazy in 2025. The benefits here are huge. First off, transparency. If the code is open, security researchers can look at it. They can find the bugs, they can fix the flaws. It is the many eyes theory. With thousands of people looking at the code, the bad stuff gets found and patched way faster.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Then there is the customization game. This is where open source slaps. Imagine you are a hospital. You cannot just upload sensitive patient data to some random server in the cloud. That is a lawsuit waiting to happen. But with an open model, you can download it, run it on your own secure servers inside your building. No data leaves the building. You can even train the model on your own specific medical terminology. You can fine-tune it to be a world-class doctor AI. That is the power of open. It puts control back in your hands. And for the hobbyists and tinkerers, this is paradise. You can experiment. You can learn how the tech actually works. You can build weird niche AIs. There are open models for music, for art, for specific video games. It fosters a level of creativity that closed systems just cannot match because closed systems are designed for the average user. Open systems are designed for the weirdos and the innovators, and I mean that as a compliment. Before we go any further, I want to take a quick tangent because this part of history is honestly wild. We have to talk about OpenAI. The name itself literally implies they should be open, but the history reads like a soap opera. Back in the day, OpenAI was founded as a nonprofit. The mission was to open source everything. They wanted to democratize AGI for the benefit of humanity. It was a beautiful dream.
Emotional damage.
But then things got complicated. They realized that training these massive models required a mind-boggling amount of money, like billions of dollars. So they pivoted. They became a capped profit company. They started keeping their secrets. They released GPT-4, and the weights were nowhere to be found. The community felt betrayed. It was like inviting everyone to a potluck and then locking the door when you brought the pizza. Sam Altman, the CEO, has said that the closed approach was easier to hit safety thresholds. He basically said it is too dangerous to give everyone access to the most powerful models. But the plot thickens. In 2025, there have been reports that OpenAI is reconsidering. They are looking at open sourcing some of their older systems. Why? Because the competition is heating up. New players like DeepSeek release super low-cost open models, and suddenly OpenAI looks like the expensive slow kid in class. They are being forced to react. It is honestly hilarious to watch. The company that closed the door might have to open it back up just to stay relevant. It just goes to show you that in the tech world, nothing stays the same. The pendulum is always swinging. Let's get back to the core comparison though. How do they actually perform? For a long time, closed models were just smarter. They had the edge. If you wanted the best results, you had to pay for the closed API. But the gap is closing. No cap. The research shows that open models are catching up fast. We are seeing open models that are performing on par with or even beating closed models on specific benchmarks, especially when they are fine-tuned for a specific task. However, there is still a trade-off. Closed models generally offer a smoother, more reliable experience. They have the infrastructure to handle millions of requests a second. Open models often require you to have your own hardware to run them at scale. If you try to run a massive model on a laptop, it is going to be slower than a snail crawling through peanut butter. So who should you trust? This is the million-dollar question. If you are a business leader in 2025, you are probably sweating bullets about this choice. If you go closed, you get ease of use and reliability, but you risk vendor lock-in and potential privacy leaks. If you go open, you get transparency and control, but you have to manage your own infrastructure and security. It is a classic rock and a hard place situation. The reality is most pros are saying you need both. It is not a binary choice. You might use a closed model for your customer-facing chatbot because it is fast and polite, but you might use an open model for your internal data analysis because you need to verify exactly what the model is doing with your financial records. Hybrid is the name of the game. Let's talk about accessibility because that is really the heart of this battle. Closed AI tends to be expensive. If you are a student in a developing country, paying $20 a month for an AI subscription might not be feasible. But if you can download an open model and run it on a cheaper computer or even a Raspberry Pi in some cases, you suddenly have access to state-of-the-art technology. That is democratization. That is leveling the playing field. Open source allows for innovation in places big corporations are not even looking at. Researchers are using open models to track diseases in remote villages. Teachers are using them to create custom lesson plans in languages that big tech ignores. Small businesses are using them to automate tasks that would otherwise be impossible. This stuff happens because the code is freed.
Hey, that's pretty good.
On the flip side, closed models have the resources to push the boundaries of what is physically possible. They are spending hundreds of millions on compute. They are building the data centers that open source just cannot afford. So in a way, open source is riding the wave that closed source created. It is a symbiotic relationship, even if they are fighting. I want to touch on security one more time because it is nuanced. People assume open source is less secure because hackers can see the code, but the research actually suggests otherwise. Because open source is so scrutinized, vulnerabilities are found and fixed fast. With closed source, a vulnerability could exist for years without anyone knowing until a hacker exploits it. That is the zero-day risk. Imagine a closed model has a backdoor. Nobody knows. Then one day, boom, everyone's data is leaked. With an open model, if there is a backdoor, someone on GitHub is going to spot it, probably within a week, and call it out. However, the danger of open source is that bad actors can also download the model and strip away all the safety filters. They can create an uncensored chaos bot. That is the real risk. Closed models keep the guardrails up by force. Open models rely on the user to be responsible. And let's be honest, people are not always responsible. So where does this leave us for the future? The tension between these two is shaping everything. It is changing how schools teach coding. It is changing how hospitals treat patients. It is changing how artists create. The next 12 months are going to be critical. We are seeing a shift in momentum. The senior executive AI think tank literally said that the AI world has seen a shift in momentum towards open. The monopoly is breaking up. We are likely going to see a coexistence. A world where specialized closed models handle high-stakes, high-security tasks, and a vibrant ecosystem of open models handles everything else: education, creativity, small business innovation. It is going to be a messy, vibrant, chaotic, and absolutely beautiful future. Wait, I almost forgot to mention the weights. I know I said it earlier, but let me clarify. When we say open weights, we mean the actual numbers that define how the model thinks. This is different from just open code. You can have open code but closed weights. That is like giving you the blueprints for the engine, but not letting you have the engine parts. True open source like Llama is giving you the engine parts too. That is why it is such a big deal. It allows for fine-tuning, which is just a fancy way of saying teaching the model new tricks. If you are a developer and you want to build an AI that speaks like a pirate, you can take an open model, fine-tune it on pirate books, and boom, you have the best pirate bot ever. Try asking ChatGPT to do that and it might give you a lecture about cultural appropriation or something. Open source gives you the freedom to be weird, and that is where the fun is.
Meow.
Exactly! It gives you that reaction when you see something truly unique and unexpected. Closed models are optimized to be average and safe. Open models are optimized to be whatever you want them to be. And honestly, I am here for the chaos. Let's recap because we covered a lot of ground. Closed source is the sleek, fast, secure, but expensive and controlling option. It is the walled garden. Open source is the transparent, customizable, flexible, but DIY option. It is the wild frontier. Closed models offer advanced features and reliability. Open models offer transparency and community innovation. The battle for dominance is real. It affects accessibility, it affects your wallet, it affects your privacy. But ultimately, competition is good for us. It makes the closed models better because they have to compete with free. And it makes the open models better because they want to match the performance of the giants. We win either way. So what should you do? If you are just starting out and want to see what the hype is about, play with the closed models. They are the easiest entry point. But if you are serious about building something, if you care about data privacy, or if you have a crazy idea that the big guys would never support, get yourself a GPU and download an open model. Join a community like Hugging Face. Contribute to a project. Be part of the revolution.
Phone face down, but I still feel it buzz. All these scenes from today playing back just because. Keys on the table, coat on the chair. Your laughter in the hall, still hanging in the air. Roll the credits on the long, long day.
That is a wrap on the open versus closed debate for today, folks. Hopefully your brains are buzzing with new ideas. Remember, whether you are team open or team closed, the most important thing is to stay curious and keep learning. This technology is moving faster than ever, and you do not want to get left in the dust. This has been The Artificial Brain. I am your host, Shining, reminding you to think smarter, not harder. We will catch you in the next episode where we will be diving into the wild world of AI agents. Trust me, you do not want to miss it. Until next time, keep it neural. Peace.